Hello and welcome to In the Art Scene podcast, a place where creatives share their stories. My name is Galina Marquez, and I have another cool story prepared for you today, so let's get to it. All right, hello everybody and welcome to the new episode of In the Art Scene, and today we are talking to a very interesting artist. Their name is Ezerd, and we are in their studio. Hi. How are you doing today?
Everything's lovely. Thank you so much. And you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So, you actually, well, I don't know anything about you, so we're kind of gonna start from scratch and just meet each other for the first time. So it's gonna be very real, and
I'm up for that. That's beautiful. And anyone listening probably doesn't know who I am either. So that's
why wouldn't we start with that? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Ezerd Land. I am currently in the Bronx, New York, and I mainly work in CMYK, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And I don't mix the colors. They do their own mixing. Check me out to see all the work. It's amorphous color fields that represent a matter of like chemical reaction, chaos, energy, frequency, wavelength. And then there's a foreground image. It's usually like robots and spaceships, or what I call being ships, which are intricately drawn line work creations that could be a multitude of things.
Well, everybody, I'm looking at their studio wall right now with all the artwork, and it's really mind blowing. It's amazing. It's really cool.
I I also work in a lot of UV work and a lot of glow in the dark work. So you're just seeing so like cool. one level. I like to do multi-layer, multi-level experience type of thing.
All right. Well, in the short introduction, you actually said a few things that I don't understand. I need to ask you about that. So how's that? I understood that you're working with a very limited color palette, which is CMYK, and you're letting colors mix themselves and do some kind of a chemical reaction. Is it the specific medium? Can you talk a little bit about the process?
Sure. I use mainly ink and acrylic. And the way that I do them is I have them very, very thin layered, watered down. And so they're process colors for the most part. If I can get a process color, I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll just choose a color that's as close to the process color that I can find. And the layers are super, super thin. So when they lay on top of each other, they create other worlds of color. I stick to the CMYK to find a oneness with our machine family. That's how the computer printers and the newspaper and all that does it. I'm really fascinated by that. So I like to stick to that.
That was my next question. Yeah. So CMYK, for those of you who don't know, CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and contour black.
K.
And these are four colors that are usually used in the color printers, and in like book publishing or whatever, you go to some kind of a print shop, most of their machines are printing with those four colors. So is there why is that you want to stick with that and be kind of closer to that machine process? That's very interesting.
Yeah. So my brain is very locked into colors, and I used to use a huge array of color. I used to be like so color focused, and everyone knew my work for colors to the point where that's all they would talk about. And so I had to like stop using color altogether to just be like, I can do other things in color. And then as I grow and develop and my brain expands into whatever areas it's going in, I've just attached to this amazing, like, CMYK does it all. I'm just going to let it flow. I'm going to embrace the chaos that happens in my process, and I'm going to make it work for me. And the images come from elsewhere. So why can't the colors come from elsewhere? The being shipped, especially, I have a standard Ezerd model robot. I have a few standard Ezerd model robots, and my EFOs or EAPs, Ezerdian flying objects, or Ezerdian aerial phenomenon, that I generally UFOs, And So I have those standard things that happen. They happen in a range of ways, and other little icons that go along with them. But the being ships, I totally empty my brain out. I don't do any sketching. I don't do any thinking. I just look at the background and I see all these things happening. And at one point, all of the action disappears and then a single shape shows up. And if that shape stays, I know that's where I start drawing. And I just flow. The line appears just before my pen and I just flow, and it comes from elsewhere. And so why not let the color come from elsewhere as well?
Fascinating. So while you were talking, I was like, okay, I got to ask about this and this and this and this.
I love that. It's beautiful. Let it flow.
So first, I wanted to make a comment that I personally do love working with limited color palette. I'm not sticking with CMYK, but it's actually amazing what you can do with just 2 or 3 colors.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I kind of recently, like within the last year, I kind of discovered that, and I'm not going for the whole array of colors. It's just fun. It's just fun because you can, but I am mixing them on the palette, and just for the sake of experiment, want to see what can I mix? What else can I do?
Yes.
So that's really fascinating.
Sometimes some limitations really expand the field completely. So I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
As long as you don't box yourself in to not be able to move forward. That's the only problem. Some people get stuck in that mode.
Well, but I think limitations are good because they kind of show you how many things you can do with what you already have. True. Right? It's not like only A and B. You can experiment and you can come up with so many different things, and it's wonderful. And for us creatives, I think it's the best thing they can do, because you kind of prove yourself over and over again that whatever you do, wherever you go, if you have even a limited amount of art supplies, you can do wonders.
Absolutely.
So it's really cool.
Absolutely.
So there was another question I was going to ask you while you were talking. So you were talking about how you were working with a lot of colors, and then you stopped using colors whatsoever to kind of show that you can do different things. This is interesting to me because a lot of artists that I talk to, they are talking about evolution of their artist voice until they actually find the subject, and the subject kind of sticks with them, if not forever, but at least for a long, long, long time. For you, it was kind of like, no, heck it. Everybody knows me for color. I got to do something else.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that thought process.
Because I don't plan, I don't sketch, and I do have a number of things that come through in the way that the imagery happens. A lot of people don't understand it. I don't necessarily need them to understand it. I need them to take in what they can take in. I don't want to explain everything. It's an experience for them. And when the only thing they seem to be getting out of the experience is the color play, I realize that I'm only hitting them on one level. I'm not really going any further in their mind. And, that could be all right in some ways, but there's more there. This happens like to everyone everywhere on every facet of existence. You see certain layers that you want to see and you disregard everything else. Your input systems will only take notice of that which is confronting you in a way that's to take notice of. It used to be like a warning signal, like, hey, watch out for this, but now it's
yeah, you kind of get adapted to. Yeah, so it's not about you pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. It's about pushing your viewers, collectors out of their comfort zone.
It's a bit of both, isn't it? Because once you put something down, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna not use this anymore. I'm gonna visit something else and see where that goes. There is a new thought to it. There is a new, it is new territory. So it is your own push too. Yeah, it's beautiful. Why not keep going?
It is wonderful. And I just love how you just included the viewers into this whole thought process, that it's not only for you, you're motivated for them to expand their understanding and expand the level of experience that they're getting with your art. It's great.
And at the same time, I don't want to tell them what they're supposed to be getting out of it.
Absolutely not. Of course, they have to figure it out.
Figure it out. It is what it is to you, that is with everything in life. Certain things have certain meanings to each person. So
For how long have you been doing art? How long have you been artist?
I
And
started,
you're full-time artist, right?
yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah. I started in wow, I'm very old. I'm very old. Yikes. I'm yikes old.
Come on.
It's a scary amount of years. I started in the 90s. I started art in 94 or 95. Yeah, when I was in college. So when I was in college, I've been a massive nerd my whole existence. And I got to college, and there was this one semester where I knew the classes I wanted. I had to have these classes. This is what I want. I'm not going to change my mind. You're not going to get me to take other classes this semester. And so I needed one more class to fulfill my requirements for the number of credits in order to get my financial aid and all that chaos. And so because I had locked myself into, I must have these 3 classes, there were very limited options that I could choose for the additional class. I went through the entire course catalog and marked out everything that didn't have prerequisites. And it was only a handful of things that would fit into the schedule that I wanted. Out of those handful of things, there was only 2 that I could actually see myself sitting through long enough to actually manage to take the class. And I decided, okay, the one of them was another science lab. The other 3 were science labs. There was class plus lab. So that's like so much work and so much class time. And there were 3 of them. That's a lot of work. The 2 classes that I was left with to take, but potentially, was another science lab, which is basically just like, what do you do? That's like absolute torture, right? 4 science labs is chaos. Or drawing 1 class. And I'd never done art. I'd never, I doodle in my notebook, during classes, and for the labs, you'd have to draw things. And I was like, all right, well, maybe this class will help me make my lab reports better. Maybe I'll be able to draw better for my stuff. And so I signed up for the class, and I went to the first class, where all they do in that class is go over the syllabus. I did not understand anything because I had no art background whatsoever. I went to a small school, poor school. I excelled in certain classes, so I wasn't pushed in the arts at all. I took a bunch of music, but art itself, they didn't really let me take. I was intimidated by it anyway, by the instructor. So I get to this college class, and they're going over the syllabus, and I have no idea what he is saying. None of the words are making sense because I've not been exposed to this language before. I've not been exposed to these references. I have no idea what these materials are. I'm thoroughly lost. It's like I sat down in a completely foreign language and everyone else gets it. And I was thoroughly confused. So I walked out of that class going,
it's probably like for me going into a science class.
right. So I walked out of that class going, all right, I'm dropping this and I'm going to take that other science lab. This is going to be a rough semester. So I went right directly to the advisor's office. You had to have the advisor sign off on it to allow you to switch classes because the semester had already started. And they were out for a week-long leave because of some family emergency. So I realized I had to do the first assignment because I'm a nerd and I can't skip class. So I go to the bookstore and I go to the art section. I'm totally lost. I have this long list of supplies. I'm only going to do the first assignment. So what do I really need for this? Dude comes over to help me, can't help me. He sees how confused I am. He's just like, well, just pick something and you're good. So I bought a pad of newsprint. I didn't even know pencils came in different like hardnesses or different styles, anything. So I picked a couple pencils, I picked a pad of newsprint, and I was like, all right, we're doing this. And I was frozen, totally frozen. Like an hour before the class started, I just doodled something quick. The first assignment, by the way, was come in with something that you think is good art. Draw something you think is good art.
That's oh my God, that's a challenging assignment for for the first class for someone who has no idea what to do.
I was
oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I was terrified. So an hour before class, I did something quick and show up. And then the instructor walks in and yells out a handful of names. My name was in that list. And then I learned what a critique was.
Uh-oh.
Wow. What? We hang this up and people talk about it. Okay. Oh my goodness, what? You're killing me here.
I'm so sorry.
So, uh, so then we all hang our stuff up, the handful of people, and then he's like, "Who wants to talk about what?" And everybody raised their hand and pointed at mine, and I'm like, "I've been found. I'm going to be stoned to death
Uh,
in this room." And I'm trying to figure out, can I run for the door? Do I jump out the window? What do I do? And I'm like, I just have to take it.
I
Whatever
just
this is that comes at me, I need to just sit through this and take this.
I just imagine how your heart must have been racing.
Yeah, I was a bit freaked out.
Uh, well,
So
anyone would.
So the way that it played out is everyone thought that I had been in some art school and had done something tragic, or something tragic had happened to my life where I ended up where I was.
Wow.
And I could not convince them that, no, I just have no idea what you're doing here. I don't know what this is. And so after the class, they talked about my piece for like the majority of the class time.
Can you
I
describe
was
what the
confused.
piece was actually?
Yeah, it was, so it was newsprint. So it was like the worst
Uh-huh.
paper that you could choose.
Very, very thin. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very thin, really easily. Yeah, gross. It's not good paper. And it was a huge piece. It was like 18 by 24. And I drew this little, probably 6 or 8 inch by like 4 inch little thing in the corner. And it was like an eye and a clock with a zipper coming through the back. I don't know. I can't even remember exactly
Wow.
what it was, but I was pulling that out of nowhere just before, and I was like, whatever. And so they think that I have done it and that I know what I'm doing. No idea. So then after the class, I walked up to the board to retrieve my art, and the professor comes up, and I said, "This has been very interesting. I thank you very much, but I will be dropping the class, just so you know. I'm going to take another science lab. This bunch of chaos I need for my financial aid. And thank you for this. This was interesting." And he put his arm around me and he goes, "No, you belong here. I got you." And that's
Wow.
how I started doing art. Oh, and then he took my art down and he goes, "Next time, a better paper than newsprint, and don't put the pins through the art." So, okay, lesson one. And he said,
Uh,
"I'll see you next class." And that's how I started my art thing.
wow, that's amazing. Wow.
And
Sounds
then I
like
stopped doing science and I didn't
really?
make lab reports anymore. Yeah, after that semester, I changed my major to art,
Huh.
and that was it.
What a pivot.
Yeah, totally.
Wow, that's interesting. You
A
know
very
what
long-winded pivot.
it reminds me of there's another podcast that I'm listening sometimes. I'm geeking on psychology big time.
I
So
do that.
there is a podcast, you might check it out. It's called The Slight Change of Plans. And they're talking about the experiences, like sometimes like unexpected or traumatic or whatever, just drastic uh, changes that kind of pivots the whole life of a human. And then that sounds like one of the stories. I mean, you should submit seriously. That you you will be great.
It was quite a pivot for sure. I had no art in any kind of, I wanted to do science and I also wanted to be a writer. So I was kind of doing my classes between the two. And then I realized that I didn't want to be the type of writer that had to take like little quick assignments from magazines about like what lipstick is great this season type of thing, because that's so not anything that I can do. Um, so I quit the writing thing because I didn't want to be like a constant barrage of disappointment from submissions. But then I go into art. Which one is that? That's just like a constant barrage of that's just torture in itself. But
But I would presume that you have been at least a visual person probably since you were a child, right? If you were able to whip something on a piece of paper an hour before your first art class and everybody was amazed. So can you confirm, or how
yeah,
was it?
I've always been quite visual. I've always been quite mechanical. I used to love to work on things with my hands. I really wanted to do things with my hands. Actually, when I went to college, I intended to do ceramics, and then I moved into the sculpture department, and then I ended up in printmaking of all things, which is
Wow.
still very using your hands, using your hands. And then when I left college, I realized I don't have any of this equipment, and so I went back to drawing and painting. But I've always been very visual, and yeah, I guess I've always done little art things, not thinking that they were art things. Uh, yeah,
Yeah, well,
I
so
guess you do.
This is amazing to me sometimes when, when you kind of grow up without realizing that you are an artist, and then one day, boom, universe kicks you in the ass and you end up in the right place where you're supposed to be. That's
Yeah,
amazing. That's really
it's
cool.
beautiful. It's beautiful. You just have to let it play out. You can't fight it so hard. You got to just, it
Have
makes
you,
it easier if you don't fight it.
yeah. So have you ever tried woodcut prints?
Yeah, I was a printmaking major. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in printmaking, actually. So woodcut was one of my go-to things. For that class, the first assignment, to make the first woodcut, the instructor said, don't make circles. Whatever you do, don't make circles. So I made the entire thing circles and curved lines just because I was like, no, you don't box me and you don't tell me what I can and cannot do. So the entire thing was curvy lines and circles. So yeah,
Rebel from the
woodcut, I
beginning.
love it. I love it. I actually have wood laying around here that I intend to do that, but I haven't. I kind of switched over to linoleum
Hmm.
because uh, it was a lot easier to handle, and at this point, it might even be cheaper. This I don't. Our supplies here and there kind of.
Yeah,
Wood
yeah.
is crazy expensive right now.
It is, yes. Lumber is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I like to use the birch plywood. So,
The reason I
uh,
asked, I've never tried woodcut myself. But I know my good friend, she's a 94-year-old artist. And
be gold.
Be Gold, yes. You
Yeah.
listen to that episode?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. She's
Yeah, she's
amazing.
amazing. She's absolutely amazing. She's turning 95 this year. It's crazy. I probably by the time the podcast this episode is out, she's probably going to be 95 already.
That's beautiful. And
It is
happy
beautiful.
birthday to her.
I
That's awesome.
will. I will
And
tell her.
how can you not be so awesome with the name Be Gold? Come on.
Right? Right?
As soon as I heard that from Corey and Wynn's podcast that you did with them, you said Be Gold, and I was like, oh, I got to check that out. I love sounds, and I love the way that it like goes into the brain and it tickles around in there. So I was like, oh, I got to find out what Be Gold is up to.
She's amazing.
So I
She's
listened to
amazing.
that
And
podcast.
she still does. She still cuts the wood.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really mesmerizing and really meditative, and it's just beautiful. And you have to pay enough attention because the grain will take things where you don't necessarily want them to go. And in the end, it's even the block itself. You don't even have to print it. The block itself is just
It's like a piece of
gorgeous.
art. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
That's
I have a
beautiful.
couple of her original pieces in my house. I'm so proud.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It is really cool. All right. So, switching the topic.
Yeah.
You mentioned something before we started recording about the pop-up live shop.
Pop Shop Live.
Pop
Yeah.
Shop Live. Yeah, and I am not familiar with that. The first time I actually encountered that is when I was releasing a Corey and Wynn's episode.
Yeah.
And I checked out and I was like, I really don't know what's going on out there. But you say that this is actually a live kind of a sales event that you
Yes.
can run once in a while. So can you explain it to me and to
Yeah.
everybody who's listening?
So Pop Shop Live is an app. You can download it on your phone, or you can also check in on the desktop or your laptop, desktop, whatever computer you have. And it's a live streaming shopping platform. So I set up in my studio and I show people my work. I put it in front of the camera, they see it, and it goes into a shop where they can just buy it right there. It's like 1, 2 clicks and it's bought. I also sometimes do drawing and painting live on the app. And I don't have any shows scheduled right now. I haven't worked out like a set. I did have a set schedule, and then my life changed a little bit. So I haven't locked in another new set schedule. So I'm kind of on the app whenever I feel like getting on the app, which is nice because you're not like locked into certain hours. A lot of people do set standard hours, so people know to go find them at those times. I'm kind of like a lot more freeform than that. But so you go on, there's a ton of sellers doing a ton of amazing things. It's not just arts, there's a lot of food things, there's a lot of jewelry, a lot of fashion, and it's small businesses selling their stuff live. And you can chat with
That's
them, you can ask lots of questions. Yeah, it's a community. It really turns into a community
huh.
thing. It's beautiful.
That's really cool. I should try that.
Yeah, yeah,
I had
definitely.
no idea, really. I had no idea that this
I
thing
s-
even exists.
yeah, I found out through Designer Con because
Okay.
2020 I was supposed to go to Designer Con. That didn't happen, and so they partnered up with Pop Shop Live, and there was a Designer Con was on the app itself. So then I got to be included in the app. There's like a whole application process and all the approvals and whatever. But because I was with Designer Con, I automatically got in. I didn't have to wait for any kind of approval or anything. And it was frightening. I was on the first time I was on Pop Shop, I was on for the entire weekend, all day, every day for the
Wow.
weekend. And it was when it was brand new and there's a lot of bugs and everything, but everything works out fairly well right now. And there are little glitching things here and there, but the support staff is excellent. The support is awesome. The whole crew there does a great job of what they do. So and the people on Pop Shop, they're like they become like family. They check in, and chat about stuff. It's beautiful.
Awesome. I should try. Yeah, and
Definitely.
it sounds like a lot of first experiences for you happen in this kind of a way, like whoa, like a wave
Yeah.
over your head. Just deal with it for the whole weekend for the first time. Learn and deal with glitches, and
I
yeah,
that's how
it's
my whole
awesome.
life has been pretty much. Yeah.
Do you
Like
have any other
I'm not
anecdotes?
I'm not really like I'm not an actor. I don't want to rehearse anything. I'm just ready to let's just jump in and keep going, like do it. What do you why are you replaying things over and over? So any other anecdotes? You're that's putting on the spot. Like
Sorry, that's another your first
um
experience. Come
oh
on.
yeah, yeah. I just like to flow with things. Other anecdotes. Oh, so another fun one is I had this large piece. It would I don't really do many large pieces anymore. It's mostly like more intimate size type things. But I had at one point this really large piece and everyone loved it. Everybody wanted it. It was like my icon piece at the time. And everybody that I knew didn't have the kind of money to afford it. And so everybody was just like watching this piece, waiting to see who got to take it home with them. And uh I had a show and I was seeing someone for the first time. It was a new friend, and they were helping me put the show together. We're unloading all the pieces out of the car to take them into the gallery, and he wasn't used to handling art. He didn't really know. He didn't know what he was doing. I was throwing him in the den there, like here, just do this with me. And so he's handing me too many things, and I told him slow down. Hey, wait, slow down, slow down. I don't have all this stuff. Hold on. And the big piece, the big iconic piece, it started to fall over. And so he just stuck his foot out to catch it, and
Oh
his
my
foot went right
god.
through
Oh
it.
my god.
It went right through it. And we both kind of just stopped and looked at it. And then I looked at him and I said, well, you better get your foot out of that before anybody else sees. And he was just like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And he was like breaking down. I was like, no, no,
Wow.
just stick it in the car before anybody else sees. We're just gonna have to rearrange the show. It's all good. It's all beautiful. Keep going. And so then everybody was like, hey, where's that piece? And I was like, oh no, that piece isn't here today.
So what did you do with it?
I actually repaired it and then I sold it at a massive discount. And so someone has it in their home and they're very happy with it. But yeah, it was
I
one of those moments where you're just like, well, that happened. All right, keep going.
I think you should have bumped up the price because now it has a history.
Right, right. Too late for that tag. Oh,
Awesome. Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, well, I don't know what else to ask you.
all right. Should I ask you
Um,
things?
yeah, yeah, sure.
How do you feel that the podcasts are going? You're in season 3 now.
Yes,
How are you feeling?
I am feeling I am actually feeling very hopeful. So what happened, and I think by the time this episode is up, the season 2 is going to be over, and I will have a little kind of a wrap up season episode explanation of what's going on, because in 2021 we had a major hiccup, and we kind of stopped production. We just stuck. my husband, who at that time was my co-host and the editor, uh, he got very busy with his day job. We had a marketing assistant who was amazing, but then she graduated and got a job at the PR agency, so she left. And around September-ish, around Labor Day, I realized that I was pregnant, and everything, like the whole world stopped.
Absolutely. That's a lot. That's a lot.
So I'm kind of just now, I'm like at the time we were recording, I'm 6 months pregnant, and I'm just getting back to life, and I'm like, I got to do this anyway. It's like, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I started doing it. I love it, because even if it's not growing as fast as I wanted, at least in the first season, I just still love it, because this is for me like building my own community and meeting so many amazing people and learning so many amazing things. Like in half an hour talking to you today, I already like got incredible information that I have never heard before, and I had a good laugh. Like, what else can you wish, right?
Absolutely.
So
you have to set aside the expectations and just let it flow, and you're doing that, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. So as we speak right now, I'm releasing the leftover of the second season, because we already had a lot of interviews recorded. They were just sitting in a drawer. And like, yeah, I have content, and I have a whole list of people I want to talk to, and people keep coming. Like Corey referred me to you, and like, this is a blast. So yeah, that's amazing. So I hired an editor, and I am looking for an intern assistant to help me with little like minutia thing, administration, social media, whatever. So yeah, I'm really hopeful. I'm not going to stop.
That's beautiful.
And I'm even going to start releasing once a week, which we weren't doing because my husband was very busy. So we were doing every other week. So now we're going into a more frequent schedule. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. By the time this episode live, we'll see how many followers we have.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and maybe by that time, actually, we'll keep in touch. If you have something scheduled in a Pop Shop Live,
yeah, or shows,
well,
as things.
We'll put it in and promote it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, most of my life before pandemic was conventions and Comic-Cons and art gallery, those kind of things. And that all stopped. And so Pop Shop entered my life at a time where I was like, how am I going to do it? Oh, I'm going to do it this way now.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful the way that lined up. I'm very fortunate for that.
Yeah. The to me, that like the podcast was kind of a lifeline as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And how are you doing with your art now that you have all the other baby concerns and such?
I am actually doing better. So I really haven't painted in 4 months. And now I'm picking up my sketchbooks. I just bought myself water mixable oils. I want to try oils because I've never done that. And water soluble watercolor pencils, which is also interesting.
Brilliant.
I am scared of watercolors. I have a whole set of professional watercolors. I just can't do it because it's freaking me out. I can't control it. So I'm mostly doing right now acrylics, and I am kind of exploring my like internal world, because a lot of things are happening with my body and my mind, and that gives me a lot of things to process and things to put on the canvas. And it's really, it's been really interesting to work on that.
That's incredible. That's beautiful. And as for the watercolor, not being able to control it, don't try to control it. Just flow with it and see where it is, and you'll get to become one with it at some point. Just let it let it flow.
Everybody says that. And I like whenever I do something abstract with acrylics, it doesn't bother me. I just throw it in and see what happens. But with watercolor, I don't know what it is. I just don't know. I'll give it a shot anyway. So I figured pencils are probably going to give me a little bit of work control. But I should do it, because I have a professional watercolor set, and I'm just not using it. It sits in a drawer. So I should unpack it.
Totally.
Maybe I'll do like unboxing video on Instagram or something like that.
It's no expectation. Just enjoy the process. And a lot of people do mix it with ink. They do the watercolor for one section. They do ink as like Corey and Wynn do,
Yeah,
or mix
yeah.
it with the acrylic situation. Don't be scared of it. What is it going to do to you? Don't
Well,
drink it.
exactly.
Don't drink it.
Oh, well, okay. That's a good point.
All artists have had paint. Let's avoid that.
I put my brushes in my drink sometimes.
Yeah. And you're like, well, okay. I have to keep mine totally separate. I'm also the type that has to have a number of drinks at once. I'm not satisfied with just one. I don't drink enough if I have just one. I just ignore it. So I have to have like 3 drinks in front of me. It's some weird obsessive thing. And so I have to have them totally separate from the work area. But yeah, it's still a mess.
Yeah, and
it's dangerous.
It is dangerous. Yeah, and I'm a tea drinker, and the tea kind of looks like a muddy paint water.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. I did hibiscus tea once, and it was like the same color that I was working on, and I just got thoroughly confused. Yeah. I'm with you there. You got to keep them at different types of jar, different types of cup, different sections, and do your best.
Yeah, and sometimes accidents happen. You just get yourself a new tea.
Yeah.
Let's take a short coffee break. Producing this podcast sure takes a lot of energy. Would you buy me a coffee so I can continue doing it? I would really appreciate it. The link is in the show notes and on our website, intheartscene.com. Thanks for supporting our show. So how do you know Corey and Wynn?
I met them at DesignerCon in 2019. I had a booth in the Artist Alley, a table in the Artist Alley, and they showed up at my table and we chatted for a long time. And then I checked out their work and we started following each other on Instagram and chatting here and there. And then they jumped into the pop shop thing. And yeah, it's been a back and forth fun dynamic. We've coast to coast communication about art. And I just started an art. Well, as of this recording, I just started it. Who knows if it'll still exist by the time it airs? We'll see. I might not exist by the time this airs. We'll see.
No, it's not going to take that long this time.
Nothing's guaranteed. So I started an art group, and I was like, they're perfect beings to bring it to this art group where we discuss things that we want to tackle and accomplish and try to meld knowledge and experience and help each other get to what we want to do. They're just beautiful, wonderful beings. Love them.
Are. Absolutely. I had such pleasure talking with them. Really, really awesome people. So art group, talk a little bit about the art group.
Yeah, I called it Art Dart. It was really hard to come up with a name that hadn't already been taken, that had like a cool art kind of. Yeah, that was rough, man. Searching all over the internet. No, that's taken. So I named it Art Dart because a dart in your hand doesn't really do much until you find what you want to throw it at and send it on its way. And even if it lands in some unsuspecting person's leg, like it's out of your hand, you're moving to someplace, you're doing something. Also, dart to represent like it's not going to take a lot of your time and it's for you. So come in and do the work. It's on a Discord server. Come into the server, do some work, look some stuff up, share some knowledge with other people. It's not going to take a lot of your time and it's for your benefit. So I want dart to be dual meaning there. So it's a group of fun people.
Discord, right?
Yeah, it's on Discord. If anyone is interested in more information, they can write to me. It's kind of we're just getting started, so I kind of have it on like a small number of people to make it a more intimate space, so people feel more comfortable and free with sharing deeply personal information or secret information or complete and utter failure that you don't want anybody else to go through, but you're embarrassed to let anyone else know that you've been through yourself. So I've just started it. It's going well. So we've only had one meeting as of this recording. And yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I will make sure to put all the links in the show notes and in the blog post. So by the time the episode is live, which is probably going to be late March, early April, let's see, probably. Um, yeah, I think the group is going to be already established, and
Yeah.
people will want to join. We'll make sure that all the information is available.
Awesome. And we'll see if
Cool.
I have any other exciting stuff happening. Right now, I just have my Patreon stuff is a lot of work each month. I have a number of people I make pieces for, and my pop shop stuff. I do have some gallery shows here and there. As of that time, I'm not sure what I'll have going on, but
So
it'll be lovely.
how has your Patreon been doing?
Oh, it's lovely. I've had a Patreon since 2016. I jumped in kind of early and I've just let it grow organically. I've had friends who've joined in, but a lot of my patrons are people I don't know them, but I get to know them through that. I'm like, who are you? You love me? What is this? Hello. Hi. You're filling your home with my stuff, your office with my stuff. Like, how amazing is that? Anytime anybody wants to take anything that's come out of me and have it in their home is a source of happiness, inspiration, awe, beauty, anything like that, anything that gives them a spark, anything that distracts them from whatever stress or misery or grump or that happens in life. If I can help anyone through that, like, you want to take my energy into your space, wow, thank you. I'm like so deeply touched and so deeply honored. And so these people that support me every month, they're so trusting. Like, there's not like a setup like, oh, you're going to get this month, or you're going to get that this next month. It's you're giving me money, I'm just going to send you what I want to send you. And so like, I get to experiment. I don't have to really think so hard, and I just have a lot of fun. So it's awesome. It's really awesome. I'll try like a different type of paper, a different type of ink, a different like icon image, a different method, medium, madness, and they get the first pull of whatever, like the first draw of whatever it is that's happening in my brain. Unless I completely like mess things up. It has happened where I've destroyed entire series of things because of some random thing didn't work. But then I just make a new thing. And it's beautiful. They trust me with that. And everybody, as far as I know, loves it. So if anybody wants to jump in there and get some experimental stuff from an Ezerd,
That's
sign up for my Patreon.
That's actually a really cool concept. I like it because you make people feel like they are at the beginning of something, like like it's early Picasso or something that was not a thing yet. So they were the first to put their hands on it.
Totally. Like
It's really cool. It's amazing.
I've recently gotten really into the UV light work and glow in the dark work, and they totally had a bunch of that stuff before anybody else got to experience it at all. Any of the new like icons that I start to use, they get them first, and
So,
they just trust me with it. I love that.
that's really cool. So you've been talking about the platforms so far, like the set of platforms that we discussed today. I am not using either of those. I'm definitely going to check them out. Like Patreon was kind of in the back burner for the podcast. Maybe in the future we'll see about that. Discord, I know it exists. I have never even checked it out. Pop Shop Live. The first time I encountered it after I did the Corey's episode, Corey and Win. So that's something to check out. Absolutely. Uh, what other platforms do you use?
Goodness. Well, if you wanted to jump into any of those, I will say that I'm happy to help you in any way that I can. I'm happy to share my information and knowledge, my experiences with them.
I'll take
I'm
you
totally
up on that.
open for that. Yeah. And if you want to jump into Art Dart, we can set you up in Art Dart, and that's on Discord. So there's two things. Jump in, boom, you're in.
I'm in.
Other things that I do, a lot of it's on Instagram. I also have my Instagram is at Ezerd, EZERD. I have a TikTok that I don't use nearly as much. That's Ezerd Land, Land, EZERD, LAND. That's my name. And I'm not so quick and easy to do video stuff. Like, I do put together some little video edits and some quick camera run stuff, but that's not really where my brain goes. That's not really my enjoyment area. So you can find me on those. Other than that,
you're more like a live broadcast person.
it's scary because that's terrifying, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, like that's yikes. The first bunch of times, even now, I'm like, oh, we're going to do that. All right, okay, that's what we're going to do. And there you go. You just do it, But if I sit and think about it, if I put it through my brain, like, this is what I'm doing, it's live, whatever comes out, comes out. Like, no, my brain kind of explodes. But you just got to get in there and do it.
Yeah, when I started the podcast and like first few people were asking a bunch of questions in advance, like, is there a set of questions? So what should I do? I've never done this before. I'm kind of scared. I was like, don't worry, I'm scared even more than you are. And that was true. It's true. Yeah.
I wasn't sure when I jumped on the interview here whether you were going to do a preliminary, like, okay, these are the questions, is because then I was like, oh, let's not do that. Like, I can't do that. My brain starts running on all these different questions and all these thoughts and ideas, and it starts planning and programming and starts like manipulating what's going to come out, and it's not real flow. It's not real, and it's yikes. No thanks.
Yeah,
I'd rather just be free flow and run with it.
I never do a preset questions. I do have some preset questions now available on the website for anyone who doesn't want to jump on the interview for the podcast but still wants to be published, so they can go and fill out the form. The questions are quite open, so it's not like, yes or no or something like that, because we're looking for the stories to share and for artist voice to be heard. So so anyone, if you are listening to it but you're not quite sure but you want to explore something, you can start with a safe option of going on the website, filling the form and being published. So.
Do it. Don't think too hard. Just go experience it. Enjoy it. Totally.
Yeah, it's amazing how many things we're just afraid of for no reason, just because we don't know what they are and what the outcome is going to be.
The only concern is what words come out of my mouth, because I have some colorful language sometimes, like some vibrant hues of hands to ears, like, oh, don't listen to that type of words. But
it's okay. We have an option for explicit language.
And usually as things flow along and you get more comfortable, things do kind of get more loose, but we're doing all right.
Awesome. All right. Well, I think the last question I wanted to ask, you mentioned the glow in the dark things and that you were experimenting with it very recently. It's kind of a new thing. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, that would be awesome, because I probably have met just a couple of artists who are doing that. I know that there are artists out there who are playing with this stuff. I have met one guy who is making like humongous like portraits and like lions and other things. I'll send you his Instagram. He's really cool.
I love that.
And his stuff is all glow in the dark entirely.
Nice.
So it looks very colorful, but then you turn off the light and it's like totally different colors and it's just totally different experience. So can you talk a little bit about your experience and where you're going with it?
Yeah, it's probably been almost a year now that I've been really into, well, by the time this airs, it'll be about a year that I've been into the ultraviolet light situation. I noticed some people were doing some fun stuff with it, and I was like, I want to do some fun stuff with that. And a lot of the colors that are available are very similar to CMYK. And so I'm like, yeah, let's just jump in and do this. And so I started playing with that. And then once I got my UV lights, I realized that some of the colors that I had been using already were UV reactive. And so then I got extra pumped for it.
Wow.
So now I have a hard time not using the UV light situation in my work. And like things that are sitting around there like half done, I'm like, oh no, I got to start over on you. I got to add some UV stuff. And then I also like, because you have such a grand change from the regular light to the ultraviolet light, I want to take it further. So then I'm like, glow in the dark. Yeah. So then once the light goes all the way out, then there's things that will remain that you didn't realize would remain, or things that come through that you didn't see in the last image of it. So I like playing with those layers and levels of perception and play and fun and surprise and fun. Why not? I just got in some new glow in the dark powder that is like ultra, ultra powerful. It's like 20 hours of glow, and it was like
Wow.
glowing through the packaging. I was like,
Wow.
"Yikes, this is gonna be good." I haven't done it yet because I've been waiting for a time when I'm okay with accidentally dumping the entire bottle of powder on me. um, yeah, so I'm waiting for the moment to do that. It's going to be grand. It's coming soon because I have pieces that are due. They're like, I have commissions and pieces that are due that I really need to get done that I want to put that in. So
That's really
it'll be
interesting.
happening this week, probably.
I look forward to, yeah, I look forward to see it if you're going to post it on Instagram or elsewhere.
Yeah. I check my Instagram now. There's a bunch of UV and glow in the dark stuff there
I will.
now.
Yeah,
So
for sure. For sure.
yeah.
Awesome. So that's interesting for me because it's supposed to look very different from like your painting. Obviously, you have a good lighting in your studio, etc., etc. But then you cannot really imagine how it's gonna look when you turn off the light, right? So it's like, is it always a surprise, or I assume that some people are probably planning for some kind of effect when they have a lot of experience with it, but it's like having two pictures in your mind at the same time when you're producing it. It's like it's mind cracking for me.
It's a lot of fun. I actually set up my studio so I have a bunch of big UV lights. And so I will work in regular light and I will work in UV light. And then I work in the dark with the glow in the dark. It's charged up, it's glowing. You have enough light. You have like a little bit of a light so you can see where you are on your painting and what's going on. And or you can have like the UV light on. The glow in the dark works with the UV light. So yeah, I just play with different lights that I sit in myself. So
That's
you
really
just
cool.
flow with it. Yeah.
Have you ever tried? There is a medium, those mood rings. So it
Yeah.
changes the color when the temperature is changing. Have you ever
I
tried
have
something with that?
I haven't, but now I'm gonna have to go and
That
find
would be
some.
really interesting.
What have you done? Forget this other stuff. Yeah, and at one point in my life, I really, really wanted to get into lenticular stuff. I don't know if you know, lenticulars where there's a layer over it that's like cut at different angles. So then when you
Uh-huh.
walk by, it changes
Uh-huh.
images. I got really into the ideas of making things lenticular, and then I realized the cost of it, and I was like, yeah, nah, that's all right. I'll just keep that for now. And yeah, just different ways to play with the eye. I think that's a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
You know,
All perception and
you know what
inputs.
it remind me of? Uh Actually the first episode of the second season we had another non-binary artist in Utah, and they have done a really cool installation in the Utah Art Museum. The portraits and the installation was about coming out process, and it was like a bunch of like tall, skinny columns with like a few different sides. And as you walk by, you can see like it turns a certain way that you can see one face and then another face and then another face. So it starts with almost like a black and white, really sad, and then it goes into a very colorful um, picture. So it's
Beautiful.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I posted the video of that on the blog post as well, and it's on their Instagram as well. So Ryan Kasner.
I'll definitely check that out. That
Yeah,
sounds
yeah.
beautiful.
I'll
Amazing.
I'll send it to you too. It's
Thank
really
you.
cool. It's really cool.
Awesome. And the subject and the way they approach the subject is beautiful.
And it's
It's a,
amazing because they realized that they are non-binary being in college, and the college is in Utah, and Utah is like the best place where you can realize that you're non-binary, right? But
yeah, that sounds a little harsh.
uh, amazingly, they were so involved with the movement of helping non-binary people, not only in Utah, pretty much anywhere, but in Utah specifically, through the programs, through the arts. And a lot of their art is actually about being non-binary, LGBTQ, and help people with the coming out process and stuff like that. It's just amazing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
And what a wonderful way to help everyone else out
yeah,
because you've
yeah.
lived it. You know what you've been through. You know what it's like. And even though everyone's experiences are slightly different, there's still a lot of common threads that run through them all, with like the grand narrative that's
Yeah.
pushing down on you.
Yeah.
I get that. I totally get that. My journey, I've always not been, I've always known I wasn't male or female. And my situation was a bit different in that I haven't actually ever told this out publicly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I should have started with it.
I'll be crying. No. So when I was born with one gender assignment, and then my one parent decided that no, they didn't like that idea, so they gave me a separate name that was the other gender name. So I lived in female land on one side of the house and male land on the other side of the house.
That is very unique situation.
I had a lot of chaos, and there's a reason why I am how I am. There's in so many levels, so many fronts. Yeah, I dealt with a lot of interesting situations and chaos growing up. So for one parent, I was female, and for one parent, I was male. I had two different names, and I had to be able to flow between the two states in the middle of the same house, in the middle of the same room, in the middle of the same conversation.
Wow.
From very early childhood, I had to be able
Wow.
to adapt and flow. So I never made the choice. I never really, like, it naturally makes no sense to me that I'm one or the other, because I've always just been somewhere in the middle, because I didn't understand or see or conform or even enjoy the female side of things. Not to diss on any females out there. All love here. This is my experience. Everything that was presented to me in that frame, that envelope, that bubble, was not anything I was really into. Everything that was presented in the male side of life was a lot more interesting, a lot more exciting, a lot more fun. I understood, I got that a lot. That was more where I was aiming, but I also knew I wasn't that. I also knew I was not male. Growing up, most of my friends were male. I'd have some female friends, but most of my friends were male. But there was definitely a division where, like, yeah, we're all cool and everything's fine. But then there's this definite line where I'm not one of you either. And so my whole life, it's just been I've been the middle way forever in basically everything.
It is a really unique situation. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't have any grand, like, coming out or like, I definitely lived for a grand part of my life as like super tomboy, or just like, I was also a super awkward, shy nerd and really wacky, weird kid. So like those also helped me navigate those trends and those flows.
So
Still am. That's just how I am. I'm just an Ezerd. I'm just me.
well, that's
That's like the grand thing is through everything, I am just Ezerd.
so at this point of history, I think it's easier for you to kind of navigate, because a lot, like for a lot of people, it becomes a normal thing. And I personally know a lot of, and I grew up in a very patriarchic culture. I'm from Russia. So yeah, I know a lot of people who just cannot wrap their brains around the stuff. But when you were growing up, I assume that even in school, probably people were trying to put you in one box or the other.
Yeah, I absolutely got shoved into the assigned gender box. And that's just how it was. That's just, it just, all right, but I'm weird and different and I don't really fit in with that. So I'm just going to stick with who I am. And if whatever box you want to check, at that point, there really wasn't a choice. There really wasn't anything, this was back. I was born in 76. I'm, yikes, I'm ancient. My birthday, as of this recording, is in a couple of days.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah, yikes. So back in those days, there wasn't really anybody trying to think about those things or help anybody with that kind of thing. It was like, no, this is where you go. This is what you are. Like, what are you talking about? No, this is what you are. This is what you do. And I was always like that weird thing that was just off to the side doing whatever weird thing I was doing. And because I was sweet and polite and shy and stayed out of everything and everyone's way, then I got to get away with just being me, to whatever degree that is, because of course that's all certain types of programming and
Yeah. Yeah.
things that I had to
Yeah.
adapt and understand and adjust to get through all the rest of my life. All that trauma and psychology comes back into play here in this situation. Hello. We adapt and all our survival strategies to get through whatever it is that we're running headfirst into.
Yeah.
That I think is why that I'm fine with running headfirst into whatever it is, because that's what I've done my whole life. You never know
Yeah.
what's
It's
coming
like,
at you. You just got to
what
get
else is
through
going to
it.
scare you, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I always got to get neglected to the side and got to just be me to some extent in whatever weird programmed sense of me there is. I
Well,
try not to have a me and a self, because if you lock in too hard to a self, then you don't allow yourself to expand and grow and discover what else you may be.
I think at the end, it kind of turned out for better, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Which is frightening, eh? Considering all that I've been through and all those things that you're like, why? What? Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that in some way it was a grand advantage, as
So,
much as it's difficult to
so
take
your
in.
name, Ezerd, is that something that you chose for yourself, or is it so you?
Yeah, I chose that for myself. Yeah, I didn't want my other name. I didn't want either of my other names. I didn't like them. I didn't want them. I needed to just dissociate. And there was a point when I started showing my work, and this is when the internet was coming up to be, and you got to pick like whatever name you wanted to be, and like everybody was like doing their name with a number if they someone else already had their name. And I was like, no, I'm going to be who I want to be. And so I remember sitting there in a chair, and I said to myself, if I'm going to call myself something, what am I going to call myself? And then it came really loud into my head. It said Ezerd. And I was like, what? What was that? And it said, Ezerd, your name's Ezerd. And I said, all right, we're going with it. You said it.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
Ezerd became my name. And I had my name from birth. I had that for a long time. And I finally got to a point where I was in a safe enough situation, safe enough space where I finally officially legally claimed it. And so that's
So
a
I guess that for you was sort of coming out process, like mom and dad, this is how you're going to call me right now, starting
they
starting today.
they don't, and my father's been long past, but my mother still
Sorry.
doesn't. She doesn't understand it. We don't. I don't have a relationship with her really. So
Sorry.
it is what it is.
I
Uh,
guess.
yeah, but we just keep going. But I'm Ezerd. That's all I ever need to be is Ezerd. Is whatever I want to claim that to be at any given moment. That is exactly what I need to be, and that I think is beautiful. Do no
I
harm. I'm very much into do no harm, and I know that even if you try hard to do no harm, there's still a good likelihood that you're going to be doing harm on some level to someone somewhere somehow, but not intentionally doing harm. And just project love. It's all about love, and we're all in this together, and everyone's going through whatever they're going through, and no one wants to like dig deep enough to show each other all the beautiful. It's kind of like mycelium. We're all a bunch of mycelium, the fungus underneath. Everybody's got those kind connections that no one wants to admit to or see or even explore, and you're just the mushroom on top, I guess. But
yeah.
nobody wants to be in the same mushroom family because we have to create division and chaos and hate and anger, and yeah,
I think it's a great way to put it. Yeah,
humans are messed up.
we are.
It all breaks down to trauma on so many levels, multi-level trauma. And
Yeah,
until we
which
can all
yeah,
wake up to it and help heal each other, we're not going to get through it, So let's
yeah.
wake up and heal to it.
Which is a whole different topic for another podcast. So
Which we'll be
yeah,
doing tomorrow.
yeah. Right. No, I mean
Stay tuned.
I'm geeking on that too. I'm big time, big time. I got a degree in psychology, and since then, like as I was getting my degree, I got divorced from my first husband, which was very traumatic, and then It's been 10 years now. I've been in therapy on and off, and by now I have discovered and rediscovered so many things that I like. Some of them I don't even have conscious memories of. So I did some EMDR work, and those are mind blowing. And now with just a like even with just a daily journaling, you just pour something out as like, okay, where did this come out? So yeah, it is. I think that it is very beneficial to, for every human being to admit that we are not perfect, that we have been affected by something, that we all carry trauma, because it is impossible to grow up in the world without being traumatized. And yeah, and before you do that, you really cannot like truly love yourself and truly love someone else. And this is where all those boxes and assignments and everything goes.
Yeah. Even if people don't think that they've been through traumatic events, because most people think of trauma as just like a car accident or a bike accident or seeing something awful happen. But a lot of people,
or something that happened when you were already adult.
Right. Yeah. Or there's a lot of cases where something happened before your brain was fully developed to be able to understand what was happening, or how to interact or react, or how to understand those things. But then because it happens so early on in your childhood, you don't even know that it happened to you. So it's everywhere. Trauma is everywhere. It is everywhere. And it's that word gets thrown around a lot now, but it's true, Yeah. I almost went into psychology, but then I realized that I was getting way too into it and diagnosing myself with way too much. So I put that all down, and I was like, that's just gonna be a side fascination.
Well, actually, the first year you're kind of going like, okay, I have all those diagnoses for myself.
I'm so messed up.
Absolutely true. But you know what? I've learned that people who are going to study psychology, that's kind of their internal call for help.
Yeah,
no one is really going to psychology to help someone else. They learn to help anyone, like someone else later in life. But as I was studying, I realized like, nope, I have so much stuff to shovel within me. I will not be ready to help someone else for many, many years. So
I actually have been to, I tried therapy for a little while, and I noticed a pattern where I would start to tell like a mild story, and then the person would have a total breakdown and have to like even leave the room in some cases. And so, because I know that those that go into psychology have been through stuff, like I don't know what that person's triggers are. I'm triggering them, I'm harming them. I need to stop. It's not helping me to get it out and tell. It's not healing me right now to watch me harm you. And so it was just kind of confirmation that this right here, this way, is not helping me exactly right now. And it's confirmation that what I went through was really messed up. And it also confirmed that it's okay to be really messed up about it. But I need to keep going. I need to work my way through it, understand it, see it through whatever number of lenses I need to focus through to be able to move on beautifully and with love. I've seen a whole lot of not love. So my focus is love.
Well,
love.
What I see is a beautiful, very content human being who knows their place in the world and loves other human beings.
I'm mostly in space. Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, on that positive note, I suggest we wrap it up. I actually have to run to another meeting right now. I would totally sit with you for another couple hours. We can
do that.
Let's do it. Sure, absolutely. Yeah, with no microphones. Yeah,
beautiful.
I enjoyed it so much. Thank you so much. I'm grateful to Corey for introducing us, and I'm having just a real joy talking to you. I'm so happy that we got to know each other.
I appreciate you deeply. Thank you for having me here.
And I'll jump on your group for sure.
Yes, I'll send you the info. Cool. Then you'll have to learn Discord though.
I will.
We'll get you through it. It's all beautiful. Thank you. Thank you
for being here.
We'll see you.
And we'll see you in the art scene. Yay. It has been another episode of In the Art Scene podcast. If you liked today's conversation, please give us a good review on Apple. and go listen to other great stories. Check out our website intheartscene.com or follow us on Instagram at intheartscene for more content. If you are a creative and you want to share your story, shoot us a message from the website or DM us on Instagram. Look forward to seeing you next time in the art scene.